You know, it's not often in life you have these kind of awakenings or epiphanies, something that like kind of really shifts your whole perspective on everything. The only other time that I think I felt this feeling that I'm about to explain was when I was 7 years old. I had a sudden epiphany that some human being out there actually drew this comic that was in front of me. That was G.I. Joe number 21 with Snake Eyes on the cover. It's called The Silent Interlude. And 40 years later, this feeling happened to me again. And of all places, it happened to me at a place called VeeCon. That's Gary Vaynerchuk's annual convention, pretty much for himself, but it's a lot of the V friends, and it's an NFT digital collectibles community, and a lot of entrepreneurs and speakers there. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I was gifted a ticket from my wife's new job, and I decided to make just a few chill days away from the office and just maybe kind of explore and listen to some of the speakers there. I've spoken about Vibe before in week 51, called Your Money or Your Life, and the vibe at VeeCon was one of the friendliest and most positive that I've ever encountered in my entire life. I've been to a lot of conventions, a lot of shows, and I can't really describe the feeling of positivity, and it really wasn't a convention about NFTs or business. It really felt like a gathering of all these people kind of pursuing their dreams and passions and supporting each other. So it very much aligned with the spirit behind Draw or Die. On the Saturday morning of the show, we were invited to a breakfast from some nice folks from Flexi Art. They turned their Airbnb into kind of a place where the V friends could all get together and fuel up for the long convention day. Very nice folks. Also very cool stuff that they're doing over at Flexi Art with like these layered plexiglass pieces of art. They look really neat. Probably look better at night too. Now, something I wasn't expecting at this breakfast was a freaking guided meditation to break out. And that's exactly what happened. You know, I admit I've never really meditated before. Or maybe I've tried in the past and I kind of just failed miserably. You know, I never quite got it, like ever. I think maybe because my thoughts just always never seemed to quiet down. And also when people would tell me to like clear your thoughts out, quiet your thoughts, like I didn't necessarily know I wanted to do that, because I kind of felt like my imagination or the characters that I have in my mind for my stories and things, I didn't want to like silence that and then not be creative anymore. It's kind of like a fear that I had, right? But I do kind of experience the calm that people explain with meditation when I'm about 30 minutes into a drawing session. That's when I enter a time that I call the zone. Some people call it the flow, but it takes about 30 minutes of actively drawing something to get there. So yeah, this guided meditation broke out, and I kind of played along because I wanted to be respectful, and this was just kind of like the price of my breakfast, guys, you know. And could it be so hard, right? Like it would, the awkwardness would be over in a moment, and you know, I could just go on about my day. But then during the guided meditation, the guide, a very nice young lady named Adrienne, she was talking about going to that place inside of you where your inner child is. You know, they tell you put your hand on your heart, and like right here where your inner child lives. I thought it was like, I was in my mind, I was like, oh, that's funny, my inner child's living in my stomach, you know. And you know, it's supposed to be this place of peace and calm, and then suddenly this like feeling did come over me. But it wasn't a feeling of calm for me. The feeling I felt deep down was like anger and pain, like kind of like, to put it into words, kind of like a fire burning inside of me, just kind of sitting there burning. And meanwhile, this guide is telling the group to just release these feelings that we had inside. And I started to feel this like rush of emotion and kind of like welling up with like tears and stuff, and I just pulled myself out of that because I can't be crying in front of all these strangers, y'all. Like that's not gonna happen, right? So I reined it in and I pulled my shit together, and that was a close one, right? So I was very guarded. I was very guarded of that, but it felt kind of nice. But also I just didn't know what I'd experienced there. And then, like I said, we were on about our day. And then a couple hours later, we were at VeeCon, and I was listening to one of the speakers, Deepak Chopra. You might know him from like Oprah or something. But funny thing about Deepak is that he was on the speaking schedule, and I wanted to see him actually because 30 years ago, I read a book called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. I had no idea what I was reading when I was 18. You know, I was just like, this is cool. Like, this is like this cool superpowers that we all have, right? And I was just curious about that stuff. But I think it really had a profound effect on me back then, and even subconsciously of how I've lived my life since. And I just never kind of understood what was really going on behind the scenes, maybe. And guess what? Suddenly, I was on our second guided meditation of the day as Deepak broke into that. So, you know, it's like, give me a dang break here, universe, you know. But this time it felt even more profound. And he spoke of that inner self and that inner child and who you really are inside. And this time, instead of like running away, I just kind of let it ride. And I went a little bit deeper and visualized like what was beyond the fires there. And it was me. You know, it was an inner child version of me, sitting blissfully under a tree, drawing pictures, and just ready for an adventure out in nature. And I had this memory about how when I was a kid, I would just play in the woods. I would run all day, deep into the woods playing, imagination just booming. And I had absolutely no fears at all. I wasn't worried about snakes or bears or dangerous rocks or falling off waterfalls. You know, I should probably be dead. Some of the things that I did when I was a kid. But that visualization of that inner me had these kind of stone walls built around them, like a sphere of some kind. They were like these big black dark rocks, you know, like from like the 1920s when they built giant rock walls in North America. And it was kind of to protect from all the slings and arrows and bombs that come at you in life. And I think those things kind of came at me very early in my life, coming from a dysfunctional childhood and troubles at school, relationship things, but mainly the dysfunctional family for sure. I definitely built these walls around my inner child to protect him. And I'm glad that I did, because it protected him from all that fire and anger and pain that was outside of those walls. And that inner child was kind of oblivious to it. Now, I know this is getting a little bit deep here, guys, but this is just me expressing my visualization and my epiphany. But that wasn't the actual epiphany. The actual epiphany was that all week long I kept thinking about those feelings and kind of like, what were those about? What was that visualization about? And the epiphany for me is that when I'm speaking to other people, when I'm speaking to you, I'm actually trying to speak and connect with your inner child, and I didn't even really know that. So I'm like the kid who kind of rolls up to your house and wants you to come out and play, and maybe you're grounded or somebody won't let you out to play. Maybe your inner child is locked away or kidnapped even. It's definitely not dead though. If you're listening to me right now, it's in there. Like, what people will tell me, what I bring into a room is encouragement. And what I actually bring into a room with me is it's that inner child inside. And that's what I really bring. And that is who is speaking to you right now. And you know, I think it's always kind of been that way for me, and I just never realized that that's what was happening. One of the first questions that I like to ask strangers or acquaintances is what did they want to be when they grew up? What did they want to do when they were a little kid? I always kind of knew that myself, I wanted to draw and tell stories and have adventures. And I think we all know that kind of like life has kind of a way of locking that inner child away. At some point, people tell you it's time to put away the childish things, and that your art can't be a real job, and that your dreams are just pipe dreams, actually said to me. The world just grinds you down, and it just keeps on grinding, especially to creative people, until they lock that away. But I'm speaking to people when I'm showing them the notebooks, or even people that don't consider themselves artists. They say something like, you know, I always wanted to draw more, but I just didn't. So I give them a notebook, you know. I always wanted to do that, and I just never did. Or I always wanted to find more time to do that. Why? You know, something kept them held back in life. So whether that's being like an artist or a musician or just some other type of passion that you have, I just want to encourage other people to explore that instead of locking it away and just doing the grind and being kind of like a slave to weird society that we're living in right now. So here I am again, I'm knocking at your door, throwing rocks up at your window, saying I'm outside, I'm ready for adventure. I found a treasure map. Are you in? Let's go. And today's drawing prompt, or this week's drawing prompt, is draw your inner child. And when you do, hashtag Draw or Die Club, so that I can see it out there, so that other people in the club can find you. And I can't wait to see what you draw. And again, I hope that you're staying encouraged. Anybody that's locked your inner child away, well, we're here to break them out. So that's that. That was my unexpected enlightenment at VeeCon. I hope to see you back here real soon. Me and my inner child gotta go draw some pictures now.